You are 18 years old. You don't know what day it is anymore. Not because you've lost track, but because the days have been renamed. There is no Tuesday. There is only reveille, drill, mess, inspection, lights out. The calendar has been replaced by a schedule. And the schedule is the same. Every single day. You arrived at the conscription depot in September of 1937 with a small cloth bag, a pair of clean socks your mother folded twice, and a name. By the third morning, the name is gone. They don't call you by it. They call you Nittōhei Private Second Class. The lowest rank in the Imperial Japanese Army. The bottom of a pyramid so vast you cannot see its peak. You sleep in a wooden barracks that smells of kerosene and mildew. 32 men in a room built for 20. You learn to make your bedroll in 4 minutes flat, because if it takes 5, the entire platoon does push-ups until someone's arms give out. You learn this not from a manual but from the fists and boots of men 3 months older than you who have already internalized the lesson. Suffering flows downward. You are cold. It is 17 degrees Celsius inside the barracks in November. You do not complain. No one complains. Complaining is not a concept that exists here in any practical sense. The food is rice, pickled radish, and occasionally a piece of dried fish. You eat standing sometimes. You eat in silence always. You clean your bowl yourself. You are responsible for your rifle, your ammunition pouch, your canteen, your gaiters, and your soul, though the last one nobody officially tracks. After 6 months, almost without ceremony, you become Private First Class Ittōhei. There is no handshake, no promotion board. The sergeant simply reads a list at morning formation, your name is on it, and that is all. You feel, briefly, like something has changed. By afternoon, you feel exactly the same. What has actually changed? The men who arrived after you are now below you, and you will not be gentle with them. Not because you are cruel by nature, but because the system requires it. Because every stripe of authority you've been given came wrapped in the expectation that you would pass the pressure on. You do, quietly, without thinking too hard about it. A year in, you are Jōtōhei Superior Private. You carry more. You carry a light machine gun component sometimes. 14 additional kilograms on a march of 30 kilometers. The soles of your boots have been repaired twice. You have learned to sleep in positions that would have seemed impossible to the boy who arrived with the folded socks. Your hands are different now. You notice this one evening, looking at them by lamplight. They are not the hands of someone who went to school and hoped to become an accountant or a postal worker. They are the hands of something the army has been building quietly without your consent. You are not yet a non-commissioned officer. You are still property of the section, not a manager of it. But you are beginning to see how it works. The quiet negotiations, the favors, the informal hierarchies inside the formal ones. The sergeant who controls ration distribution. The corporal who decides who gets the dry sleeping spot. Power is not just rank. Rank is just the part they show you on paper. After 2 years, or sometimes 3, depending on the regiment, the war's appetite, the needs of the high command, you are made Heicho, sometimes called Lance Corporal. And then, several months after that, Gocho Corporal. You now command a squad of 8 to 12 men. You have a whistle. You have slightly better boots. You have also inherited a problem that no one warned you about. You are responsible for men's behavior but not their psychology. If one of your men falls asleep on guard duty, you are punished alongside him. If he loses a piece of equipment, you answer for it. You are the first layer of accountability in a system that was designed to make accountability invisible at the top while making it total at the bottom. You solve this the only way available to you. Fear. Not dramatic fear. Procedural fear. The kind where men do the right thing not because they believe in it, but because the consequences of not doing it are immediate and physical. You know this is what was done to you. You know it is working. You are 21 years old. Gunso. Sergeant. You have been in the army for roughly 4 years. You have been to Manchuria. You have seen things that you have no language for, partly because language for those things is not encouraged, and partly because if you named them clearly, you would have to decide what you think of them. You have chosen, expertly, not to name them. You are paid slightly more. Not enough to send much home, but enough that your father stops asking when you are coming back to help with the shop. The shop is struggling. You send what you can. You write letters that are warm and say nothing. The censors would remove the truth anyway. But the truth is, you wouldn't have written it. As a sergeant, you are the spine of the unit. The officers above you are often younger than you. Junior officers, the Shoi, the Chui, the fresh second lieutenants who arrived from the academies with clean uniforms and an abstract idea of war, they need you to function. They know doctrine. You know the men. They know the maps. You know which river crossing will kill 3 people and which path around it will only delay the advance by 4 hours. You make suggestions carefully, never directly. The hierarchy must be maintained even when it is wrong. Especially when it is wrong. Sōcho, Sergeant Major. The highest enlisted rank. You have been in uniform for nearly a decade. You are the senior non-commissioned officer of your battalion. You know every man's weakness. You know which captain drinks and which lieutenant freezes under fire. You know where the supply manifests are falsified and by how much. You are the institutional memory of a unit that the army officially pretends does not have memory, only obedience. You are offered a commission once. You decline. Not out of false modesty, but because you understand something that the officers above you sometimes do not. The NCO who becomes an officer loses the only thing that made him powerful. The sergeants who run things are more honest about what they are than the men who give the orders. You know you are a machine. You made peace with this somewhere in your 3rd year. Some men do take the commission. Some men move through the warrant officer grade, Junii, and emerge on the other side, blinking as Shoi, second lieutenant. If you are one of these men, the world has changed dramatically and strangely. You now eat separately. You have an orderly, a Nittōhei, probably someone who reminds you uncomfortably of yourself 8 years ago. You eat better food. You sleep in a room with only one other person. The material difference is significant. The psychological distance is vast. You carry a sword. It is not purely ceremonial. The sword means that you are a different category of human being inside this institution. You are no longer subject to corporal punishment. You are no longer screamed at by anyone below the rank of major. You give orders that will be obeyed without question by men who are older than you, tougher than you, and who privately know more than you. You learn to project certainty. This is the primary skill of junior officership. Taii captain. You command a company. 180 men, approximately, depending on casualties and resupply. You have been in the army for perhaps 15 years now. The war has changed shape around you several times. The rhetoric is constant. The reality shifts. You sign documents now. Requisitions. After-action reports. Casualty lists. You sign your name to things that you do not always fully read, because reading them carefully and still signing them would require a kind of deliberate decision that is harder than simply processing and forwarding. The system is designed for throughput. You are a valve. Your wife is in Osaka. You have 2 children you barely recognize from photographs. Your last leave was 14 months ago. She writes faithfully. You write back with the same warmth as always. The warmth is not false. It simply belongs to a version of you that no longer fully exists. Shosa, Major, Chusa, Lieutenant Colonel, Taisa, Colonel. At this level, you no longer see the men you are killing or the men who are dying. You see lines on maps. You see logistics tables. You see numbers. 43 kilometers of front. 17 days of supply remaining. Estimated casualties at the river crossing. Acceptable. Acceptable. You said that word in a briefing this morning and nobody flinched. Not because no one understood what it meant, but because everyone in that room had been in rooms where that word was said, and no one had flinched then either, and eventually the word becomes administrative. You have a driver now, private, who holds your door open. You have not carried your own bag since 1943. The system works like this. The further up you go, the more abstract the harm becomes, and the more elaborate the justifications. At the bottom, a man hits another man because the sergeant told him to. At the top, a general signs an order because the doctrine supports it and the strategic situation requires it, and the emperor's will, interpreted through 14 layers of bureaucracy, points in this direction. The violence is identical. The paperwork is cleaner. Shōshō, Major General. Chūjō, Lieutenant General. Taishō, General. If you have reached this level, you are part of the architecture now. Not the army, the architecture. The thinking. The thing that thinks about the army, that shapes its doctrine, that sits in rooms in Tokyo and decides what the next 5 years will look like. You are powerful in a way that is almost entirely invisible to you, because power at this level is not experienced as power. It is experienced as responsibility, as burden, as the weight of history pressing on your shoulders from above, and the weight of command pressing from below, and your only job is to transmit the pressure correctly. There is a photograph of you in your dress uniform, taken sometime in 1944. You are looking slightly off camera. You look tired, not battle-tired. Tired in the way of a man who made a decision a long time ago and has been living inside the consequences ever since, and is only now beginning to see the shape of them. On the 15th of August, 1945, a voice comes over the radio. It is not a voice you have ever heard before. Not because you don't know whose it is, you know exactly, but because you have never heard it spoken in ordinary syllables in a tone that sounds, underneath the formal phrasing, like grief. The war is over. You sit very still for a moment. Outside, somewhere, a private second class, Nittōhei, 18 years old, cloth bag, folded socks, is trying to understand what this means. Whether he can go home. Whether home is still there. Whether the person who left for this place is the person who will walk back out. He will. Mostly. He will carry something with him that has no name. He will not speak of it. He will get a job eventually. He will have children. He will fold their socks carefully. And somewhere, in an office with shuttered windows, a general sits with his hands in his lap, looking at nothing in particular. He is thinking about a word he said in a briefing once. Acceptable. He is not thinking about whether it was true. He is thinking about how easily he said it. The institution does not grieve. Institutions don't. It dissolves, restructures, renames itself, continues. The ranks remain. The hierarchy remains. The logic of it, suffer downward, abstract upward, remains. Somewhere, right now, a boy of 18 is learning to make his bedroll in 4 minutes. He doesn't know your name. He doesn't need to. You were always replaceable. That was the first thing they taught you. It just took a lifetime to believe it,